Pros of voting: ensuring enfranchisement. Minorities are traditionally disenfranchised when voting is not compulsory. The people, who are poor, uneducated, are far less likely to vote. We're an egalitarian society and believe that forcing people to vote is a reasonable, if somewhat paternalistic measure to ensure that all groups have a say in the running of our country. Ease of voting. If voting is not compulsory, there's no need for authorities and employers to make voting easy. Because it is compulsory, it's made very simple. Electoral authorities visit hospitals, aged care facilities, military bases, and there are provisions for postal voting, and pre-poll voting. Voting is held on Saturdays to minimize difficulties with getting away from work. Increases support for government. People can't claim that they did not have a say in officials getting elected. You may not have voted for the party that won. But you definitely had an opportunity to have a say. Your fellow citizens certainly feel that if you chose to vote informally, then it was your choice not to have a say, and you have to live with the consequences. You have limited right to complain about how things are going. One may wonder whether our relatively calm political climate compared to many other countries, and certainly relative to the US, is at least partly due to the fact that every one of us has to accept a certain amount of responsibility for the government that we have. Cons of voting: violates the right not to vote. Poles really don't have a rights culture. We don't have a Bill of Rights, and are far more likely to talk about our obligations than our rights. Whilst there are some people who resent compulsory voting, most of them believe their philosophical disagreement is outweighed by the benefit of including minorities, and only a very tiny minority think compulsory voting should be abolished. We're a pragmatic people. Don't consider that taking 5 minutes out of our lives every 4 years is a very big imposition. For those people who have a conscientious objection to voting, they have the option to cast an invalid vote. The legal obligation is to place a marked ballot in the ballot box, but there's no obligation that the markings create a valid vote. You can also submit an invalid postal vote with no penalty. The submission of an invalid postal vote still fulfills your obligation to vote. Uninformed people vote. Politicians have been known to bemoan this very phenomenon, but when it comes down to it, democracy means that everybody should have a say, not just the people that we think deserve a say, even those who have difficulty getting to a polling booth, or those who haven't studied the issues, or who are biased. The issue is this: compelling people to do something that they don't want to do is unethical. But so is disenfranchising minorities. The only issue, then, is which is the lesser of two evils. Western countries should decide that it's more important for minorities to participate, than to give people the freedom not to have to vote.